Let's slide into it right now. We're going to start with the quarterback position this week. 6 quarterbacks is what we're looking at. And disclaimer, because it's the holidays, I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon. So since I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon, of course, some news can come out and alter some things that we're doing here. But early on right now, it does indeed lean that Justin Fields is not going to play and Dalton will be playing. And whether it's Jared Goff or Tim Boyle, I mean, Jared Goff helps a little bit to an extent to keep guys like Khalif Raymond viable and maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown. But for the most part, I don't really care who starts. If it's Jared Goff, he's going to project for like 13 fantasy points. If it's Boyle, he's going to project for like 11 fantasy points. For the most part, I'm not too concerned with who is starting in Detroit. And it does look like Andy Dalton is going to start in Chicago. So that's where we go. And you can see right now, it's pretty cut or dry. I don't have any maybes. So if you're first time here because Thanksgiving, maybe you just found me, usually if I put an X on a player, it means that I do like them, but I don't like them as much as the Ys. They're kind of like a maybe, right? Or percentage-wise, I have less of them than the yeses. But I'm trying to build this video if you're building just one lineup or maybe just 2 or 3. If you're playing 150, yeah, you're going to have shares of Trevor Siemian and Andy Dalton and hell, maybe even 1% of Tim Boyle. And as I'm saying this, literally news just came out from NBC Sports Edge that it's leaning, all signs are leaning towards Goff starting. Again, we'll update the projections. Jared Goff's name in here instead of Tim Boyle doesn't really change too much for me. So we can start up top here. And what I'm looking at is just guys who can actually win me a slate. And that's the 3 guys up top: Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr. We can start with Josh Allen, who is currently my highest projected quarterback on the slate. And we've touched on it in terms of the Thursday Night Football video that's already released. We go in depth on that specific showdown slate. But he's seeing more too high mans, right? He's seeing more of these zone coverages. And what is that going to lead to? It's going to lead to less big plays. You have to check down more. You have to run the ball more. And right now, they're just not doing that. So I'm not shocked in this game to see them try and run the ball more against New Orleans if New Orleans goes too high, which New Orleans has a good run defense, but anytime you go too high, you're taking an extra man out of the box, which will leave Josh Allen and Buffalo an advantage in the running game, or at least a perceived advantage if they actually try to take advantage of it with their 3-headed backfield they've been using the last 2 weeks. Josh Allen, though, they have the weapons. Just like the Chiefs, it took the Chiefs 2 or 3 weeks to figure it out. It's been 2 weeks now, 2 out of the last 3 games for Buffalo. It's going to take a little bit of time, but they have the weapons. They did it against the Jets. The Jets, a terrible secondary, much better secondary here, ranking 6th in the NFL right now, the New Orleans Saints. But they have the weapons. They have a Stephon Diggs. They now have a healthy Dawson Knox. They have Cole Beasley now healthy, running 28 routes after only running 8 the week before. So they have the healthy pieces on offense. They have the zone beaters, right? They have those guys underneath that can win in that area. So I'm not too concerned that now this Buffalo offense is just going to be completely broken. Is it regressing from last year and at earlier strides of this year? Yeah, I would say for a lot of the parts this year, it hasn't been that great. But Josh Allen so far for me is looking pretty good. I have him coming in as the highest projected quarterback. He is my 3rd best value point per dollar quarterback on the slate, but he's my highest projected. So he's going to be the highest owned. He's going to be the highest projected. All of that looks great. There is so much value at tight end. There's so much value, I mean, generally speaking, at running back and all across the board at wide receiver when we get to those positions, and it's really easy to go to Josh Allen on the slate. Is he my favorite quarterback on this slate right now? Projection-wise, yes, but overall-wise, I think I can probably get to this Dallas and Vegas game. And when I'm looking at the Dallas and Vegas game, we can start with Dak Prescott, who Dak Prescott will likely be without his top 2 receivers. Ezekiel Elliott on Tuesday got into full practice. You have no CeeDee Lamb or no Amari Cooper for this game, and CeeDee Lamb has not practiced Monday or Tuesday as of this recording in the concussion protocol. It is very unlikely that he clears by Thursday in basically like a 3-day time. And the thing that I like about Dallas is they're the highest team total on the slate, a 29-point team total. Just below right now, Josh Allen in my point projections is Dak Prescott. I got him for about 21.5 points. All my projections are linked down below and ownership if you're indeed interested. So what you're getting right now is him without his top 2 receivers, but they have great fill-ins. This Dallas wide receiver core has so much depth to it. What is that depth? Well, it's Michael Gallup, who is clearly going to be either their wide receiver 2 if they let Amari walk next year, or somewhere a wide receiver 1 or 2. He's a very good receiver. They have Cedric Wilson, who would be a great wide receiver 2 on 50 to 60, maybe even 70% of the league's teams in the NFL right now. So that's great. And then they got depth after that. They got Noah Brown, who's been in this system now for a handful of years, who they really like in the run blocking scheme. He's really good. He's one of the better receivers in terms of his run blocking abilities as a receiver. And he's fine overall, especially as a bigger body player once he gets into the red zone. He's been running a lot of routes all season long for them, even when their main 3 receivers have been out there, which has been a limited amount of time. It's been really like the first game of the year. But even last year when those guys have been healthy, Noah Brown's still being utilized. So this is still a solid receiving core, believe it or not, especially when you factor in the matchup that Dak is going to get while he's going out there against this Vegas team. And that's why you're seeing, Vegas losing Arnett for off the field issues, right? Their secondary currently ranks 18th, but if anything, it's trending downward towards probably bottom 3rd of the league as a secondary right now. So if you look at this on paper, it's going to be looking like a good spot for Dak Prescott. Now we'll track the offensive line's injury status. Tyron Smith, make sure that he's playing or at least going to be in this game, will help us a lot more when we're looking at it. But it's easy to stack up Dak. He's not running. He's not showing his mobility all that much. So it's really easy, especially when we get to his wide receivers and you see how damn cheap they are this week. So right now it's going to be depending on how much money you need to save. If you can afford Dak, he's looking like my favorite quarterback on this slate. Otherwise, if you want to take the $1,000 plunge, the best value play on the slate for me, point per dollar value, how much bang for your buck you're getting for them, is going to be Derek Carr. I have Derek Carr projecting out for 19.5 fantasy points. I have him coming in with moderate 20% ownership on a 3-game slate, which looks very good. He has the 3rd highest team total, even though he's an underdog, which bodes well. If you're an underdog with a nice team total, it usually means you're going to be throwing a lot in that game. So Derek Carr is in a very interesting spot as a 7-point underdog with a 22-point implied team total. And oh yeah, he leads all the quarterbacks on this slate in overall attempts per game at about 38, in overall yards per game at 314. He leads the slate in yards per attempt. And you get this great price point of $5,900 now against this Dallas secondary. This Dallas secondary has been fine. It's like a borderline top. It's probably closer to league average, borderline top 10, depending on the metrics you look at. It's been completely fine. Micah Parsons just wrecking shit makes their pass rush look a lot better than it probably is. And it likely causes some chaos, which is built into the fact that they're 7-point underdogs here for the offensive line and maybe less time for Derek Carr, who when Derek Carr is pressured becomes an absolute potato. He becomes an absolute potato, right? You got your mashed potatoes, you got your candied yams right now, you got your sweet potatoes, the best of you. I love the sweet potatoes. Thanksgiving here. He becomes a candied yam, right? And not in the good sense, not in the tasty sense, in the spoiled sense that it's the last one there and it's just oversaturated in the syrup. You don't love it. You know, you're probably looking at one right now at the table. Mind your business, phone at the table. Come on now. But you know what I'm saying here. There's obviously downsides to Derek Carr, but that's why he's $5,900, right? That's why he's $5,900. If there was no downsides, if he was fantastic against pressure, if his offensive line was not going to have a negative pass blocking advantage, he'd be $7,000, right? He'd be an expensive player in the slate. So we like Derek Carr. We like the times that he's going to throw. We do like the weapons as well. Like Henry Ruggs, he's not throwing downfield anywhere as much as he was, which is a concern. And Bryan Edwards is not stepping up, but he still has these security blankets in Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. And he now has, slowly but surely, and we'll talk about it, Deshaun Jackson in 2 games has taken leaps and bounds forward from like a 15% snaps to 34%. And who knows if this is the week that Deshaun gets that 50 to 60% snaps, it can unlock a lot of things that Henry Ruggs was unlocking in this offense. So Derek Carr is a yes for me. And then after that, and Carr, it's gonna, look, all 3 of these guys are strong plays. In 3 max, I probably make a lineup with each of them. In single entry, it might come down to that Dallas and Vegas game we'll end up seeing there. That's probably where I'm leaning early on. But Josh Allen just as good of a play. It's just tough to get to a Simeon or an Andy Dalton or a Jared Goff, who seems to be in line to start now. Even though they're cheaper, it's just they're pretty damn close in price to Derek Carr, who projects out way better for me. You have Simeon, who's averaging 18.4 fantasy points per game as a starter. Somehow, some way, Sean Payton is elevating him to be fantasy relevant in these 4 games, but he's been terrible. 57% completion percentage, 6.4 yards per attempt during that time. He's just barely getting you there, but now he has to face the number 1 secondary in the NFL. That's not a great spot to go into now against Buffalo. So I'm going to be jumping off that Simeon train. You look at Andy Dalton coming off of not starting in a while now. He played the first 2 games of the year where the offensive line gave him no time, but he looked absolutely terrible. The nice thing for Dalton is just a matchup, right? It's the matchup, but it'll be a really slow-paced game. The team total looks decent. If you were to choose any of these guys between Simeon, Goff, and Dalton, I would choose Dalton primarily because of the matchup, and I actually think he's the best, most talented of these 3 remaining guys here. But he's only $300 or $400 cheaper than Carr. Just go up to Carr, especially when the ownership is going to be like 10% on Dalton and 20% on Carr. It's not worth that 10% difference. So that's kind of where the quarterbacks lie. The one big thing to be pointing out for all of you right now, and I'll pop it up onto the screen, we mentioned it in the Thursday Night Football video, Prize Picks as of midnight on Wednesday, so technically Thursday morning, they are running the best promotion you will find since week 1. Week 1, they ran a promotion with Patrick Mahomes. If he throws for 1 passing yard or more, just 1 passing yard in week 1, which he did, spoiler alert, you win the bet. And now they're doing that with Josh Allen. On Thursday Night Football, if Josh Allen, and you can see it right now, if he throws for 1 passing yard, which he's going to, he's active, there's no catch here, it's just a promotion. If he's going to, you win the bet. You win the bet up to the $25 limit. So it's a free $25 basically side of that prop. So go ahead and try it out. It's on PrizePicks. If you're not already a member, sign up, tell your family members, whatever it is, everybody get in on this free prop. That is on PrizePicks.com. And another bonus for you that you get no matter what, not just for this promotion, if you use the code SAL, S-A-L, lets them know that I sent you, they'll give you another bet for free up to $100. So you get a free $100 bet. You get that bet as an automatic win for the limit of 25 or 50, whatever their limit is. Bada bing, bada bang. There's your dessert, your cherry on top. You're already stuffed and take even more, right? We don't want to just fill up your belly. We want to fill up your bankroll right here. We're proud partners with PrizePicks. So go ahead and take advantage of it. Code SAL, S-A-L on PrizePicks. Get you the free $100 And there you go with that free prop. If you're looking for any potential plays to pair it with, I'm going to be taking a lot of other props. I might even make a quick video. I'm not sure if I'll have the time, but Montgomery over 72.5 rushing yards. I have him in the 90s. We love that one. And Derek Carr over 260.5 passing yards. I have him somewhere around like the 280s, like 283, I believe, without looking at my projections right now. So if you want to pair it with one or a couple of things, there's some other options that you can consider and think about.